What's the most successful AI? In fact, a survey that was done a few years ago was what were the biggest successes in AI? And the answer is strong game playing programs, which was very, very nice because it's huge for the University of Alberta. Checkers, in 1994, our checker program, Chinook, became the human world checkers champion, so we're the first program to win a human game. And in 2007, our checkers program solved the game. It became perfect. In 1997, Deep Blue defeated the world chess champion Garry Kasparov, as you know, in an exhibition match that was not the world championship match. In chess, no computer has ever won the world championship. They've never been allowed to play for it. I should point out that this university in the late 70s and throughout the 80s earned a reputation. We had some of the best chess programs in the world. And then, of course, Murray Campbell went off to Carnegie Mellon and got IBM support and helped build Deep Blue. In 1997, Michael Burrow, who's here at the University of Alberta, his Othello program crushed the world champion at Othello. I was involved in computer Scrabble, and in the late 1990s, Scrabble programs became superhuman. Jerry Tesaro, an IBM researcher who visits here often, in the early 2000s became superhuman in backgammon. And here at the U of A, we've developed strong poker playing programs for two-player limit as of 2007, superhuman. So it's one of the biggest success story in AI has been the development of superhuman game playing programs. What's the most used AI in the world? Without a doubt, it's email spam filters. The techniques are based on technology that was developed here by researchers from the University of Alberta in part. And all this is about is just learning patterns. I mean, once you've seen a few scams from Nigeria or opportunities to enlarge parts of your body or unbelievable Viagra offers or whatever, you recognize them as spam and you just put them into the spam mailbox. And I don't know how we could survive today, given that 97% of all email is spam. But technology developed for game playing programs and used in game playing programs is used for spam filtering. What are the biggest AI systems in the world? I would say the biggest one, without a doubt, is Visa. Credit card fraud. I was in Chicago just last week, and I bought something for my wife, and it was denied. The credit card was denied. Why? Well, because Visa has been monitoring my credit card spending habits for the past few years, or for many years, and they've developed a model of what I buy and what I don't buy. And so, for example, I've never been to Chicago before, so warning 1, this credit card is being used in Chicago. Warning 2, it's in a women's store, which Jonathan never goes into. So this is a warning that this is untypical behavior for Jonathan, and therefore we will deny the credit card purchase. And of course, I then phoned Visa and told them it was okay, and my wife was the lucky recipient of a present. But it's an annoyance. But actually, it's very good because it's trying to reduce credit card fraud. And all this is machine learning algorithms to watch and observe your patterns, and when something outlier occurs, flag it. Walmart is probably another one of the biggest deployed systems. They predict your buying patterns. So they watch and observe trends and learn from them. And so what they try and do is predict what they need in stock a week from now, and then they make sure that the stock gets there in time so that they don't run out. They also observe users' buying habits and try and put goods physically close to each other as a way of encouraging you to buy. So there's a story, and I don't know how widespread it was. It was definitely done once, and I don't know how widespread it was, but Walmart observed that, and this is in the US, this is certainly not in Canada, that there was a trend to buying diapers and beer on the same purchase. Why? Because men were sent to Walmart to pick up diapers, and while they were doing that, they would pick up a six-pack. And so there was definitely an experiment seeing this correlation to have the beer section and the baby diaper section side by side. And presumably, they did that experiment and made a decision as to whether that was a good thing to do or not. But when you're doing this kind of automated learning, it makes sense. U.S. military is huge, but most of the stuff they do we don't know anything about because they don't tell us. But they do autonomous vehicle navigation, like the Mars rover. They had a mission, Deep Space One, which is a NASA mission, which was a complete automatically controlled AI system controlling one of their vehicles in space. All sorts of things, of course, missile guidance systems and whatever. Face recognition is a big thing right now because identifying faces is very important. They like to have cameras watching all the people coming into, say, JFK Airport and automatically doing face recognition looking for, say, potential terrorists. Who are the biggest people investing in AI? The biggest people in the world are quite clearly the search engine people. Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft. I think Google hired last year 7,000 computer scientists, many of them with graduate degrees, most of them in artificial intelligence / machine learning. They just know how important it is because Google, if anybody, is acquiring a massive, incredible amount of data. And we're a society right now that is data rich and information poor. We have trillions and trillions and trillions of bytes of data. And how do you take that data and bring it down into knowledge, insights? And that's the trick in machine learning. Figure out how to distill data into insight, into knowledge. Microsoft and other companies use machine learning or AI techniques in their help systems. So when you type in a question, they try and figure it out and answer the question they think you asked, which in my case usually turns out to be wrong. I find them very frustrating. But you also see it in user preference systems, and Amazon.com is a good example. I mean, Amazon knows that I've bought several hundred books from them, and they've studied my patterns. And so when I buy a book, they go on and they say, "You would also probably be interested in this book. Would you like to buy it?" No. Would you like to buy this one? No. Netflix is another company that does the same thing. They had a $1 million prize a few years ago, a competition for people to come up with a system that did a better job of recommending movies. So if you've been watching all these movies, coming up with a system that would recommend similar movies that you might enjoy. Bill Gates, a decade or so ago, said, quote, "A breakthrough in machine learning would be worth 10 Microsofts." And he's absolutely right. We have lots of techniques in computers learning new algorithms for computers learning new knowledge, and they're all good and they're all effective, but we need something better. What are some of the cool AI applications that we see out there these days? Navigation is big. Search and rescue. So, for example, they used robots on the 9/11 disaster. Some experimental work was done with robots going into the debris to try and look for survivors. You want to send robots into places where it's dangerous. They've been able to successfully deploy remotely controlled robots, say, in Antarctica, looking for things underneath the ice. The Mars rover, of course, is a really good example of an AI system deployed literally out of this world. And I've already mentioned Deep Space One. Here's another cool application. This is done by Peter Stone at the University of Texas, Austin. Lots of work in computer games. He applied some of his research to traffic. I don't know about you, but I hate being in traffic. The thing I hate most is coming home at night and sitting at an intersection, the light is red and I'm stuck and there's nobody coming the other way and I'm stuck there. So, whoops. Here's a typical traffic pattern you can see on the left. The car is moving. It's a 6-lane highway. And you can see the cars moving at the bottom. There's a light. It just turned green. Cars are going through. Everybody else has stopped. Eventually, there'll be a red light for those cars. And then another few lanes will be able to go through. And you can see the utilization is just terrible. There's lots of cars just sitting idle. I'm going to show you the algorithm on the right. This is got many more lanes and many more vehicles. And what this is the software whereby when you get within a few hundred meters of an intersection, a computer takes over your car and it drives you through the intersection. There are no traffic lights. So the computer takes over your car and drives you through the intersection. And so the computer, of course, knows exactly how far away the cars are. So yeah, we can travel through the intersection. The fact that I'm like a meter away from you is irrelevant because the computer knows how far away you are and that there's no conflicts. So here you can see the cars going through. And as you can see, everybody's going in every direction, but it's all computer controlled and no accidents. And it looks pretty insane, and I think it'd take a bit of getting used to. But this technology is here today. We can do it. Are people in this room prepared to have a computer take over control the moment you approach an intersection? But look at the throughput. It's unbelievable, right? Anyway, it's a lot of fun to look at, but what it really does is make me wistful because when I'm coming home at night, I really don't want to stop at that intersection. There's other things that are going on. Serious games are big. Serious games are games that are not designed for fun, but they're designed for important educational purposes. So there's a whole bunch of games for training doctors or training military people. I saw a demo of an immersive game a few years back, which was very impressive. It was training doctors to work in Afghanistan. Now, what do? You got this new person, they've got a medical degree, and they know how to practice medicine, but how does that prepare you to go to Afghanistan, where you're on the street, where there might be snipers, where there's no medical condition, somebody's been shot? And so it's a virtual reality immersive simulation game which tries to mimic those kind of conditions so that you get some experience in North America before you actually get to Afghanistan and have to put up with the real working conditions. So really important kinds of games. And then there's home robotics. Some of this is now deployed. I'm sure you may have heard of the Roomba, which is the automated vacuuming software software and hardware, a little thing that scoots around a room just randomly picking up dirt and occasionally sucking up things like dollar bills or loonies or things like that. But they have versions that will clean your pool or mow your lawn, floor washing, things like that. So these are the kinds of things that are real and are here today. They don't have a huge impact on my life, but clearly robotics are coming. There's other kind of robotics, unfortunately, that we talk about, and sadly, I hate to say that, not in my lifetime am I going to see robots like this, of this level of sophistication, but likely in many of your lifetimes you'll see that kind of technology. Then when we get into AI and some of these things, we start hitting ethical issues, which I'm not going to delve much into, but I think they're important for you to know. Love and Sex with Robots, believe it or not, there's a book out already on it. It's 4 or 5 years old. And if you ever saw the movie AI, it's a Steven Spielberg movie. It, in some sense, deals with this, where robots have human body skeletons and look real and have emotional abilities. And so it's not all that improbable that one day you will be able to build an emotional bond with a robot and do whatever you do with somebody who you have an emotional bond with. There's an interesting society that's been created. It's the Robots Rights Society. These people are trying to get ahead of the game and understand the ethical issues of robots. Our robots today aren't sentient, but you can easily see in the future when we have robots that are completely autonomous. Is it okay to kill a robot or unplug a robot? What if you have an emotional bond with it? Is it still okay to do things to it? Don't know, but these are ethical issues that people are wrestling with today. And of course, then there's computers as judge and jury. There's a lot of work out there on legal aspects of artificial intelligence. I mean, the law can be interpreted, a lot of it can be quite logical, which is perfect for computers. Some of it is perhaps judgment. But it's not that far off when you're going to see computer programs that could actually be a judge and jury at a trial. And what are some of the issues that we're going to be confronted with there? So many of the following technologies I'm just going to mention exist today in some form, but they're going to become pervasive really quickly. Personalized healthcare is in some sense here, but it's going to come in a big, big way. Even specific down to your DNA, because although there's a lot of generalities between different humans, we all know that everybody is unique and has different needs. Medicines that work for 99% of the population won't work for 1%, and we need to be able to automate that and figure that out so that we can give the best care possible. Automated vehicles. If you were here on Monday, we had Sebastian Thrun, formerly a professor at Stanford University, the leader of the Google Drive project, with his self-driving car. And if you just go to YouTube and see some of the videos, self-driving cars are here today. They're legal in Nevada and California. The mean time between potential accidents in a self-driving car is 50,000 miles, 80,000 kilometers. They are much safer than with human drivers. And the technology is unbelievably good. It's not ready for prime time, but it's the kind of technology that if there was a will, this could be deployed in the next 5 to 10 years. It will revolutionize society. One of the videos he shows is Google driver number one is a person who's legally blind. And the ability to be able to get into a car and go somewhere on his own is just empowering to this person. High quality language translation is coming. Non-industrial robots, conversational interfaces, all sorts of things are coming. So what are the impediments to making all these good things happen, especially since many of them are here today? The worst thing is public perceptions. Sci-fi literature is fun to read, but of course there's always a darker side to any technology that you develop, and sci-fi literature is very good at portraying it. I'm standing here, for example, and I'm looking at the camera straight ahead, and I can see, as a joke, staring right back at me is the eye from HAL the computer in 2001. And so, clearly there's an example of how artificial intelligence technology can be used for the bad. But every technology is typically designed for good purposes, and you can always spin a technology to bad purposes. But AI has so many benefits, and we should be concentrating on the benefits and not the pathological worst cases. Another impediment to development or adoption of this technology is that it's largely invisible. Most AI you don't know. The very fact that every time you use your credit card, there's AI behind the scenes watching your purchases, you probably didn't even know that. Or the fact that you go onto Amazon.com and there's an AI system doing the recommendations, you didn't know that. You probably didn't know that most elevators have a simple AI system in them to predict what the patterns are for people using the elevator so they can get the elevators in position to anticipate which buttons are going to be pushed. So it's all over the place, and people just don't know it. And then there's a lack of knowledge in industry. The sad thing here is that AI has so many opportunities for deployment in many, many different sectors, and people are just largely ignorant of it. The worst thing that really bothers me is University of Alberta produces a large number of graduates in artificial intelligence each year, and there is very little receptor community here in Edmonton and Alberta in general, and most of those talented people end up leaving the province and the country. Many of them end up at Google or Microsoft or Yahoo because those companies understand where the future of technology is and grab those people, and we don't keep them here, which is really, really, really sad. So what are some of the conclusions out of this? Artificial intelligence is here. It's a part of your life. It's a very important part of your life. It will touch you in many ways today, and you didn't even know it. And AI will become a much more important part of your life. It will be pervasive, and you still won't even know it. And that's actually a good thing. It's behind the scenes. It's improving the quality of our life. It hurts us, though, because unfortunately, without that visibility, without that public perception, it slows down the rate at which this technology can be adopted. One of the messages I'd like to you to take away is that there is enormous technology out there. Much of it is ready for deployment, and it's really just a matter of educating the public on this technology. And once that's happened, I think the sky's the limit in terms of how AI can absolutely revolutionize the world and improve everybody's quality of life. So with that, that's my talk, and I would certainly be receptive to answering questions. Thank you.
So in this course, we talk a lot about the future. Of course, it's hard to predict the future. The Singularity Institute of Artificial Intelligence argues that resources are limited, so they should all be devoted to three things. And one, I think, is quite humorous, but I'm sure that my opinion on it is wrong. So those three things, the three big problems in the world are, number one, unfriendly AI. Number two, rationality, rational thinking, particularly amongst young people. And the third, and I thought this was laughable, but it's apparently not, is young people learning how to be awesome. Awesomeness amongst young people, which is how they should dress and act and, comport themselves. And so they give camps that teach them rationality and awesomeness. So if you had your own choice of how to prepare the world for the future with limited resources, are those the areas in which you would put those resources into the problems of unfriendly AI, rationality, and awesomeness of young people?
No, I wouldn't. I would say, quite frankly, technology can revolutionize the world and improve the quality of life for everybody. I already gave one example with the self-driving car. Imagine what the world would be like if we had a self-driving car. I wouldn't own a car. I would probably have a reservation that says, every day at 8 o'clock in the morning, come and pick me up and take me to the university. And once it's dropped me off, that car would go and deal with somebody else. There are huge environmental savings, cost savings, quality of life gains. And across the board with this kind of technology, with the robotics, okay, maybe Roomba vacuuming your room or mowing your lawn isn't a huge quality of life gain, but it's the tip of the iceberg for what's there. And we live a very high quality life, and a lot of the world doesn't. And this kind of technology, particularly smart technology combined with robotics, could make a massive difference. Just think about what these robots can do in terms of agriculture. There are many things that we don't do because we don't want to, or because they're too dangerous, or because of just human frailty, human limitations. We can develop technology to do that and improve people's quality of life. And I think we have a responsibility to think not just about ourselves in wealthy Canada, but around the rest of the world, and in fact, the future of the world, the planet.
So you would devote resources towards pursuing the positive things that AI can do rather than the threat that it represents?
Look at everything out there, everything has a negative side.
Yes.
Just choose anything, and there is a negative side. Cars, fantastic. Oh, but they cause pollution. Pollution, eating up the ozone, is going to destroy the planet, right? We're not going to get rid of the cars, right? It's the same thing with AI. Anything you do in AI, there's fabulous, fabulous opportunities. But any technology, anything can be deployed for negative use. Just, HAL in 2001 is a perfect example. And people think of those doom and gloom scenarios. So what?
Yep.
People should think about the opportunities, not about the risks. That doesn't mean we should ignore the risks. Clearly, some things are much more risky than others. But we shouldn't let risk get in the way of progress towards a better life for all.
So are there other questions?
Holding it like this for a second. Yeah, you talked about some impediments. I argue there's another impediment that unfortunately is very important, and maybe it's changing a little bit now, but the fact that even the industries that are using AI today, they're using AI in a very strict way, in a very traditional way. If I take the example of Netflix, they created this algorithm called Cinematch, and it was doing quite well, but then they challenged indeed the community and they said, if you do 10% better, I'll give you $1 million. Well, in the first 2 weeks, many teams did better than Cinematch, but it took 3 years to get the 10% for a team to win. And the main reason, well, and we're talking the best minds in the world working on this problem everywhere in the world, and it took 3 years. And the main reason is because in the competition, Netflix limited the data to that matrix of 500,000 users and 17,000 movies, and you couldn't use something else. You couldn't use, for example, IMDb or whatever. So that narrow-sighted kind of approach limited the improvement that AI could bring to this problem. Today we have what we call big data, and you can use all the sources and you can improve that. But what is your thinking about that?
Good point. So data is everything. Data is absolutely everything, and that is why Google has such a huge competitive advantage. So I've seen statistics, an interesting talk not that long ago about natural language translation. So let's say that's translating English into Chinese, or Chinese back into English, right? Very important problem. But it's all data-driven, and what they do is they have algorithms that learn from the data. And so if you see, one conversation between two people, that Chinese and English, you learn something, but not a lot. But if you see 100 conversations, you have an opportunity to learn a lot more, 1,000, 1,000,000, etc. This very interesting graph showed we're going to take Google's learning algorithm and we're going to apply it to some data, and then we're going to assess it. How good a conversationalist is it? How many mistakes did it make? And what you saw, and I don't remember the numbers, but it was like, here's 1,000,000 pieces of information, and this is how well it performed. And then we gave it 100 million pieces of information, and the performance went up. And we gave it 1 billion pieces of information, and it went up. And we gave it 10 billion pieces, and it went up. In other words, every time you gave it more information, even astronomical amounts of information, it always improved. And so access to data is absolutely essential for many of these algorithms. The problem with the real world is that you and I deal with what we call heuristics, rules of thumb, things that are true most of the time but not all of the time. We have facts. What are facts? Facts are true 100% of the time, right? Heuristics are things that are true most of the time, okay? So I want to drive from Edmonton to Calgary. I should take Highway 2 straight south, right? That's a heuristic. It's true most of the time, but since I drove from Edmonton to Calgary on Sunday, and there was a major accident and they blocked the road off and I had to go through Millet, there's an example where my heuristic didn't work. But 99% of the time, it's true. The problem with the way that we think and the way that we reason and the way that we converse is things are true most of the time but not all of the time. What kills artificial intelligence is the exceptions. You're playing chess. You win a queen, you win the game. Well, that's true 99.9% of the time. When are the exceptions? And so the more data you have, the more likely you're going to see exceptions. This is what's killing the Google Drive project. Sebastian Thrun comes up here and shows the unbelievable self-driving car. But you can't legally use it or sell it as a commercial product because the insurance companies won't touch it. Why? Because we haven't dealt with all the special cases. Like, here's an example that they can't deal with. There's a power outage. We had one on Sunday. There's a power outage. Well, that's okay. It doesn't cause the Google car problem because it's using GPS, so it knows exactly where the intersections are, and it knows if there's no traffic lights, it's to stop, and when all's clear to go through. But in this one case, there's a policeman who's standing in the middle of the intersection directing traffic. Well, they don't have the software to recognize that the person standing in the middle of the intersection is not just an ordinary person who wants to get hit by the car, it's a policeman, and that the movement of the hands by the policeman actually means something. Well, there's a special case they haven't dealt with, and that's not an easy special case to deal with, right? But in order to make this technology really foolproof so that we're not going to kill people, you got to deal with all these unbelievable special cases. And that's what kills you. And that's why data is good. So what's the difference between 1 million and 1 trillion pieces of information when it comes to language translation? You're 99% of what you need very quickly. But the bigger data set gives you all of the exceptions that you need to be able to handle if you're going to be completely fluent or be a perfect driver or whatever it takes. And so, yes, good point. Lack of access to data or enough data is absolutely critical.
So, who else has a question?
A great presentation, Jonathan. Your point towards the end there, you talked about the great grads that we're producing out of the university and losing them outside of the country. Is there any opportunities, I guess, within industry to start really leveraging that knowledge? When I look at, Alberta being the oil capital of Canada, and the amount of knowledge that's coming in overseas just to try to fill gaps, and you talk about data and I guess what I would call industrial amnesia, where with the amount of people that are retiring and that knowledge is just being lost, and
Yep.
it's not being carried on or passed on. It seems like a perfect opportunity for this kind of tool, and I think with the knowledge base that's in the university to try to leverage some of the graduate experience into that in a very short order.
So, yeah, I agree with you. So let me just comment. The words world-class are grossly misused by everybody. University of Alberta, we're a world-class university. Well, come on. By that definition, there are a lot of world-class universities. There are very few groups at this university that really, truly deserve the moniker world-class. But there is one in the Department of Computing Science. Osmar happens to be the director of it. It's the Alberta Innovate Center for Machine Learning. It is one of the top 5 machine learning groups in the world. We have don't know how it happened, but we had a perfect storm of fabulous people coming to Edmonton, and we have formed one of the truly top groups in the world. That's why we're working with Sebastian Thrun on many projects. He's vice president of Google. Why does the vice president of Google come to University of Alberta twice in a month? Well, because we're working on partnerships because Google recognizes the quality of our machine learning center. And so AICML, Alberta Innovate Center for Machine Learning, right, has been around for 10 years, and yes, we would love to get involved with industry, and we have talked with industry many times, and most of them don't get it. And so I'm cynical, and Osmar, of course, is working hard on building more ties, but it's hard. This is an oil province. People understand oil, they don't understand technology. Even the companies in the oil sector that could benefit from this technology don't get it because, like, well, nobody else in our sector is using it, so like, why should we use it? People are too focused on the bottom line. The entrepreneurial spirit, the spirit of innovation in this country is sorely lacking compared to the United States. And I would say that's not just Alberta, it's Canada. I've been around in this area, in this field for many, many, many years, and I've been extremely impressed with what you can do in the States, the mindset. I'm very disappointed with what you can do in Canada, and quite frankly, the fact that we're losing all these fabulous people south of the border is a tragedy.
So we're out of time. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
This was fantastic.